Back in the 50s, in the heyday, you might say, of the three-box saloon, engine compartment, cabin and boot, this was the contemporary equivalent of the Granada, the five-star Consul, and this truck was the vehicle that delivered cars to the dealers. The famous Carrymore, immortalised, of course, in the popular dinky toy, now fully restored by Tollman for shows like this. These days, they do things rather differently, with monsters like the one behind me, with cars at odd angles, and 3 times the carrying capacity of the Carrymore. Chris Goffey took it for a spin round the test track.
Each year, some 2 million new cars spill onto the roads of Britain, and it's the job of the 8 major car transport companies to shift them from plants, docks and import centres to 7,500 new car dealers scattered all over the country. It's a fiercely competitive business, each company keeping prices as tight as possible, while at the same time striving to meet tough standards on the way the cars are transported and delivered. The name of the game is avoiding damage in transit, whether it be from the loading process or from overhead obstructions on the road. Well, this is the latest thing in sophisticated car transporter technology. 60 feet long, up to 16 feet high with cars on board. It can weigh 32 tons fully laden. And the cost, £120,000. But the big thing about this new transporter, it can take up to 12 luxury cars at one time. The industry already has 8, 9 and even 11 car rigs, but Tollman claim the extra car makes them more cost-effective. To get that many on, they need movable ramps, sophisticated hydraulics and even an onboard computer to position each car. They're tied down by nylon strops instead of chains. But the rest of the transporter industry isn't entirely convinced. They consider the overall height is excessive and say there'll be at the least a lot of problems with low branches. And they're worried about the time taken to get all 12 cars on, and that the drivers have to be specially trained to do it. Finally, they query the complexity of the loading systems and the ground clearance of the whole unit. And is it worth it? An extra £45,000 to get one more car on board seems expensive. So let's see how this mobile car park goes out on the road. The big transporter is quite a vehicle to drive on the road. It's fairly daunting with its maximum load of 12 cars, not just for the weight, but because of the value. Each one is around £20,000, and that means I've got £250,000 on board, and that really makes you think when you're coming up to difficult junctions. But with 360 brake and this turbocharged tractor unit, really, you've got all the power you need to handle that load. 12-speed gearbox here that the professionals flick through, but I find a bit of trouble with. And we're up into 7th now, rolling nicely along around about 30 or 40 miles an hour. I'm also delighted to see under these very wet conditions that they've paid a lot of attention to spray. And this isn't going to be one of those lorries you come up behind in a great cloud on the motorway and you really can't see past it. Driver comfort is excellent. There's a sprung seat here that absorbs all road shocks, and of course with this much weight on board the ride's very good. And because it's not an articulated lorry in the full sense of the word, it's really just a rigid lorry with a trailer. The rear wheels follow the front ones a lot more closely. You don't get the rear wheels running wide on corners and roundabouts, so it's really quite easy to handle. Behind the move to bigger transporters is the regrettable decision to abandon delivery by rail. So we're going to be seeing a lot more of lorries like these on our roads, carrying the new cars to make congestion even worse. Right, now to disabled drivers. It wasn't so long ago that they had to do battle with the traffic
in one of these little three-wheeled carts, and heaven help them if they happen to tangle with a truck. Now it's more normal for conventional vehicles with better crash protection to be specially modified, but even so, choosing a car and learning to drive can be a real challenge if you happen to be confined to a wheelchair. So we asked Simon Barnes of the 1 in 4 programme to investigate.
19 years old, just got a job, about to get a flat. All that's needed now to complete a picture of self-sufficiency is to pass a driving test and get a car. A pretty common and regular scenario, but how do you cross that hurdle if you have a disability? Obviously, there are many different types of disability, some more severe than others, and so when contemplating learning to drive, an assessment is sometimes necessary in order to establish if and how getting behind the wheel is going to be possible. Scattered around the UK, there are 11 centres like this one here in Banstead, where you can come for your assessment.
Now, I want to do some puzzles and tests with you to see whether your stroke has affected your thinking in any way. So I want you to choose some of these blocks and see if you can make this model.
George Claridge is undergoing a typical driving assessment, being examined by a team of consultants and therapists, evaluating the effects of his right-sided paralysis. A series of tests examine his reactions, perceptual and physical status. This will cost him £50, a fee to come out of his own pocket. A report will be sent to him and his doctor, outlining his potential for driving and any hand controls he may require. Having established his suitability and that George already had a full driving licence prior to the stroke, the centre were able to get him out on the road on his assessment day.
What you've mainly got to remember when you're driving with the left foot, you have now not got a clutch. That's the difficult bit, yeah? Yeah. And it takes a while to familiarise yourself that you're now accelerating with that foot and not the norm, the right foot, okay?
When Drusilla Henley wanted to learn to drive, she was fortunate to find a local school of motoring that could provide an automatic car with hand controls and a specialist instructor. But she did have to pay a small premium of an extra £1 per lesson. But sadly, there are few schools around the country as well equipped as this one.
Most people have considerable difficulty finding an experienced instructor living near to them, and even greater difficulty getting access to a suitably modified car. Many people need automatic transmission, perhaps hand controls, perhaps a left-foot accelerator, and these aren't easy to come by. From the driving instructor point of view, we're running 3-day courses to encourage experienced driving instructors to come forward and learn more about disability, try out the cars with the controls, so they can go away and help people in their own areas.
Once you've got the OK to drive and have passed your test, then starts the traipsing around garages choosing a car to buy. But it's not just a matter of finding one which you like the look of.
Take your arm in. It's a long way from the chair, isn't it? Long way from the chair.
Obviously, the car will need to have sufficient room for the hand controls to be fitted. That's one consideration, but what else is important?
The height of the seat being so tall, so I can see over the steering wheel. The ease of access for getting into the car, because the door opens so wide, which enables my wheelchair to get up really close to the door, and then me being able to actually pull the seat up so I can pull the chair around the back of the seat.
So you've got everything in one car and you're off on your own now?
That's right, yeah, hopefully.
Well, almost. All she's got to do now is pay for it. An option available is Motability. With this scheme, a weekly social security benefit, mobility allowance, can be used as regular payments in either an HP or leasing arrangement for a new car. Leasing is Drusilla's choice, and this means that in return for handing over her allowance to Motability, plus making up any difference, she gets a brand new car for 3 years with servicing and maintenance included. At the end of that period, though, the supplier takes the car back, leaving you to start all over again if you choose. Whichever way you go about choosing your car, another consideration to make is the type of controls you're going to use. A difficult decision because there are so many available, but if you want to make your life easier, you could come here where there are a selection of cars fitted with various hand controls. Let's take a look at a couple. For my disability, paraplegia, all I need to drive an automatic car is a hand control for the accelerator and one for the brake. Now this lever operates the existing accelerator pedal through a simple cable system, while this one works the brake through a vacuum-fed servo. Quite a simple setup really, but for some more sophisticated equipment may sometimes be necessary. Andrew, you had a spinal cord injury. How's that left you physically?
Well, it's left me paralysed from the shoulders downwards, except for limited arm movement.
So how do you manage to control these adaptations?
Well, with my left arm, I steer, accelerate and brake. Forwards acceleration, backwards brake, and left and right for steering.
And how about the box on the door? What does that do?
That's for my handbrake, ignition, side and headlights.
Whereabouts? How do you work your indicators?
There's a head switch, which I hold down for a certain amount of beeps. 2 for left indicator, 3 for right indicator, 4 for dip on my headlights and so on.
Sounds like a pretty bit of complex kit. How much did it all cost?
It was 11,000 for the adaptations on top of the actual normal price of the car.
It's well worth it, though.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Give me a lot of freedom.
But for some, like Philip Ward, it's not just driving that's the problem. For him, an automatic transit van had to be kitted out so he could get into it and drive without leaving his chair. Once that's locked into position, Philip uses a selection of easy-to-reach hand controls. Mounted on the door are switches for the electronic handbrake and the clamps which lock the wheelchair in place. The joystick to the right of the wheel controls the steering, the lever on the left is the accelerator and brake, and this box operates indicators by infrared signals. Is it pretty simple to use?
It's pretty easy once you can learn how to use it, yeah.
And do you mind me asking how much did it cost?
Well, it costs £23,000. A lot of money.
Well, it's amazing what you can do with a transit. Here's a slightly different approach, a sort of travelling temple to Elvis Presley. But seriously, it's obviously good to see modern technology being used like that to radically improve someone's way of life, whatever the cost. The nonsense with the current disability allowance is that everyone gets the same amount, regardless of how much it costs, to carry out the modification.